Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining. We're going to get started in just a few more minutes, so hang in there. We have people joining in right now, but as we're waiting, we invite you to insert your name and organization in the chat. We'd love to see who's participating with us today. Hello, Ken. Thanks for being on with us. But yes, we'll get started in just a few minutes. And while we do that, again, continue to drop in your name and organization. We're really excited. We have over 100 participants who've registered to be in this webinar with us this afternoon. So we are so happy that you're here with us. So while we are waiting and we get started in just a few minutes, again, enter your name and organization in the chat. I'll introduce myself very quickly. I am Maria Cortez, Chief Strategy Officer here at Stanislaus Community Foundation. And we are so happy that you're spending your afternoon and this next hour with us. Hopefully you've had lunch already or you're eating as you're joining us. So just a few housekeeping items before we get started. If you have any questions, we encourage you to add them in the chat. Towards the end, we will have a designated time where we will do some time for Q&A. So if you want to hold your questions for the end, please do so. And then again, we'll have some designated time to cover that at the end. The webinar is being recorded, so feel free to not feel like you have to capture all the notes during your time with us. We will send a recorded webinar to you and the slides following. And also a survey will be sent at the end of this webinar. So again, thanks so much for being with us. I see people are continuing to join. Thanks for being with us. We are at 12:02. We'll give them like 2 more minutes and we'll get started. Good to see everyone. Thank you for joining. Again, I'll just repeat it just for those who are joining. Maria Cortez with Stanislaus Community Foundation. Hello, Tricia. Thanks for joining us. And again, feel free as we cover everything on here to feel free to add the questions at the end of the chat. All right, so as we're waiting and as people continue to join, I want to share just briefly what the goal is for today's webinar. So we are so excited today to share more about the Porges Nonprofit Excellence Initiative. And so you'll hear more about that in a few more minutes, but we are thrilled to be able to highlight and share a little bit more today during this time. We're also going to be sharing about the Stanislaus Story Toolkit. Those are really our main goals for our time today. The other thing that we're going to be sharing with you is we recently administered a nonprofit survey, so we'll be sharing some highlights from that survey. So there's a lot we're going to cover today, and we look forward to hearing your questions, your feedback, and addressing some questions towards the end of that. So we're going to go ahead and get started. And so I'm going to bring up Marianne Cannon. Marianne Cannon is the president and CEO of Stanislaus Community Foundation, and she's going to kick us off for this afternoon.
Thanks, Maria. Hi, everybody. Always so good to at least virtually be able to connect with you. I know we're meeting with many of you individually these days too, but it's so good to see your names pop up, and it's so good to share this time with you and tell you what we've been cooking up. So a lot of you joined us a month ago when we launched the Stanislaus Community Foundation Larger Strategic Framework. And this is sort of the first, if you will, offering out of this new framework that the Community Foundation is embarking on for the next 3 years. And we could think of no better place to start than really talking about nonprofit capacity building and nonprofit innovation. The work you're going to hear about today is a direct reflection of, at least for the Stanislaus Community Foundation, a decade plus of working alongside nonprofits, investing in nonprofits, and really through COVID, especially in the pandemic, seeing how challenged nonprofits were, even as they were responding to the demands of the pandemic. What we saw personally here at the Community Foundation as funders to all of you and as donor advisors was how you were meeting the challenges of something we'd never gone through individually or collectively. And the ways you went about doing that was just astonishing to us. And it really kind of solidified for us the important role that community foundations play on the front lines of our community, both in terms of meeting the most pressing challenges of our time when it comes to basic needs, food insecurity, shelter, but also in the ways that you continue to go about, those of you that are youth-serving organizations, to inspire the hearts and minds of our young children, our young adults. I mean, across the spectrum, nonprofits play such a critical role, whether it's in arts and culture, basic needs, shelter, as I mentioned, really everything that nonprofits do to stand in the margins and stand in the gaps and support those that are in need in our community. So we witnessed all of that. And we really, as you know, have always been funders first and foremost and worked with donors. But we also began to recognize that a lot more was needed beyond just grants and funding. And we shared that growing and evolving philosophy with certainly one of the most prolific philanthropic folks in our community, one of the most prolific philanthropic families, which was Evan Porges and Evan and Norm Porges and the Porges Family Foundation, and also United Way, which is our partner in crime on all things related to supporting nonprofits locally. So that's sort of the evolution of our thinking, is to move beyond funding, which we're going to continue to do. We're going to continue to fund from all of our donor funds here at the Community Foundation. But we also are really interested in working with Evan in new ways to support nonprofits and support you. Because what we also saw is, while you were standing in the gap, while you were on the front lines of community need in the pandemic beyond, that in the last few years, as we've emerged from the pandemic, a lot of you are exhausted. And a lot of you are challenged by staffing issues like the rest of the world, the rest of the country. There's many adaptive dilemmas we face in all sectors, but nonprofits particularly are challenged by the adaptive dilemmas of AI and technology and automation and remote work and shifting government funds and increased demand for services. So it really is a perfect storm of need and what I call epochal shifts that requires funders to respond to you in new ways. And this is the beginning of that for both the Porges Family Foundation and certainly for Stanislaus Community Foundation. So I wanted to give you that as sort of an overview, but what we want to do is also say, are we correct in our thinking? Are we really seeing this clearly, both the need and the opportunities? So we did partner with United Way to issue a nonprofit survey recently. And if you go to the first slide, I will begin to share just a brief highlight. You're actually going to get a fuller report from the United Way and Stanislaus Community Foundation on the full survey data set. We had 59 respondents, which is a little over half of our the folks that we sent it out to. 75% of those nonprofits that responded have been operating for over a decade in Stanislaus County, and 83% offer programs specifically that are intentional in serving BIPOC, low-income, immigrant, or other marginalized communities, which shouldn't be a surprise. I really like that more nonprofits are more intentionally serving those communities and recognizing how to do that. The top 3 areas of service you see there, and the majority of the organizations that responded are already headquartered in Stanislaus County. We do have nonprofits that are headquartered elsewhere that work in our community, but the majority of those that responded to our survey here in Stanislaus are from Stanislaus. Next slide, please. You can also see that a little over 56% have $1 million or more budget, so mid-sized to larger nonprofits, and then a little less than half have less than $1 million. So you can see here just sort of the spectrum, and we certainly see this as funders too. We don't have a lot of very small nonprofits, and their needs are very different, obviously, than the much bigger nonprofits. And here we really try to understand that it is a spectrum, just like any other sector where there's multiple types of companies, if you will, or what have you. Next slide, please. So you can see here, we wanted to know, is there an increased demand, and how are nonprofits, are they able to meet that demand? And the majority said yes, there is an increased demand. Well over, if you count the 50 and the 34% that said that absolutely there's an increased demand. And many of them have expanded to meet the need. Many of you have done that. Some have stayed the same, but they're looking to potentially reduce some of the services because primarily staffing challenges. So you can see here how people are responding to the demand in services. Next slide, please. We asked, what are the barriers for your growth and your success? And this shouldn't come as a surprise. I think more funding for general operations. And we certainly saw this during COVID, even when nonprofits were really, again, responding to the challenges at the time, that they were really looking for general operating support to allow them to trust nonprofits to make use of the funding for what they see as priorities within their organization. I can tell you we're trying to do that more, both with our discretionary dollars, which are limited, but also with our donors, to just fund the nonprofits they care about, the causes they care about, and not necessarily direct programming. And then you could see, though, that they're also looking for funding for special projects, especially new ones. I think a lot of organizations struggle to embark on anything new without the funding in place to do that innovation. So we saw both and in those first two responses. And then that diversification of revenue sources. So it's not so heavily leaning on government grants or fundraising or events. How do you have sort of, again, a wider spectrum of revenue? And we struggle with that at the Community Foundation. It's something we're talking about all the time internally, is how do we, in our small operating budget, make sure that it's a little more balanced so that we are able to, you know, if something happens that goes away, are we able to sustain our core mission? This was interesting. Almost half of you do not apply for state grant opportunities. And a lot of that is because the lack of capacity or bandwidth, you haven't found funding that may be specific to what you're doing. A lot of you said you don't have a grant writer that's dedicated or a consultant that can help with that, and you're not sure what to apply for. And so I think what you're going to see is a lot of the Stanislaus Story Project that Karen Service is going to talk about is really specific to exactly this. How do we support local nonprofits to secure grant funding, but in a way that's sustainable and doesn't sort of break them? So we are responding to this. Next slide, please. And this is also what we're responding to. A lot of organizations don't have a succession plan, and almost half of them, their top executives have been in the leadership role for more than 10 years. So there's a lot here to respond to with programs that support both succession planning, sort of thinking about what's the next generation of leaders, what are the skill sets they need, and how do they begin to step into authority and leadership among nonprofits. So a lot of the Porges offerings is really related directly to that as well. You're going to hear about that in a moment. And some learning opportunities that nonprofits identified. This shouldn't come as a surprise as well. And again, really for us was edifying because it sort of proved that we're headed in the right direction with a lot of the capacity building programs we're about to embark on. And is there one more slide? No, this is it. So I wanted to give you a taste of what you're going to see in a fuller picture in the future as we release the nonprofit survey results. But for us, again, this sort of solidified that we are making the right set of investments, and know that the programs we're embarking on with the Porges Family Foundation are iterative. We're going to learn as we go and shift accordingly, depending on what you all tell us is working for you and what's not. So we are going to do that. But I am really excited about sort of this new chapter and this new season, both for the Community Foundation, but also for what it means for nonprofits. And I want to introduce Evan Porges. A lot of you know him, and you know him because he truly is one of the most generous people in the community. And I don't just mean in terms of philanthropic giving. I mean, he is one of the most generous people with his time, his energy, his attention, his curiosity. He serves on the board of the Stanislaus Community Foundation, and he truly makes us a better organization. He is one of those people that makes everyone around him better, and he truly cares about this community. I can't say enough, and I don't have an official bio that I can share with you because you all know him, and you know sort of the evolution of Prime Shine and the work that that company did in this community beyond just being a successful corporation, the way they went about their corporate giving. But that now has evolved into the Porges Family Foundation and the philosophy that Evan is, and the journey Evan is on to support this community. So Evan, I'm going to bring you on and have you talk a little bit about why you're doing all of this.
Am I there?
Yep.
All right. Hey, hello, everyone. Thanks, Marianne. Appreciate that. Hopefully I can meet those expectations. Honored to be with you all today. Honored to represent Porges family for sure. I think, Marianne, you said it right. It's certainly been an evolution of the Porges family and PrimeShine in our giving. Many of you have benefited over the years from the early days. Believe it or not, PrimeShine started in 1991. Hard to believe. And we were, we gave, we did what we could. A little bit of dollars here and there. Car washes. A lot of your organizations benefited from us giving car washes away, and that was wonderful. And we did that for a lot of years. We did some event sponsorships. Many of you are familiar with, we would partner with you and do some event sponsorship. And I wouldn't say that we were philanthropic with that. We were just trying to be good folks, but also, quite frankly, marketing the business. You were using us for some dollars. We were using you for some marketing to get the word out about PrimeShine. I think that's okay. That's a part of this community relationship that PrimeShine had. And then that kind of evolved in 2014 when we met Marianne and we opened up our first our fund, our DAF, our donor advised fund. And that sort of changed our thinking, because with the community foundation, we became more strategic. It was less just opportunistic when things came by our desk, but Marianne and her staff really made us sit and think about, what do we want to do? And so we were starting this notion of philanthropy and being more strategic in giving back to the community. And I'd say then it changed again, this evolution, in 2018 when we sold the business. And some of you may be booing right now. I do say to people, even though in 18 when we sold the business, hard to believe it was 5 years ago, even though the community, we lost PrimeShine, but we did gain the ability for us to put some dollars into the community foundation, which I think will benefit this community for generations. And so that was a game changer. And since then, if you allow me to read some of the projects and things that we've done, we were involved in Stanislaus 2030 was the effort by the county and the community foundation to establish a blueprint for our region's future vitality. Modesto Rotary's Music Garden in front of the Gala Center, that's pretty cool. The RAD Cash Card program was matching funds to support downtown businesses through COVID. Resilient Stanislaus, small business loans for those who struggled through COVID. Profit with Purpose, some of you on the call today went through that. That was a program to help nonprofits start their own social enterprise. The Modesto's Children's Museum, super cool, inspiring kids and helping transform the landscape of downtown Modesto. I think I saw Chelsea's on the call. Hi, Chelsea. The Awesome Spot Inclusive Playground ensures all of Modesto's children will have a place to stay. That's over in Byer Park. Digital Nest, a safe space for youth to learn computer and technology skills. Stan State's Warrior Entrepreneurial Initiative, providing students with an introduction to being an entrepreneur, getting that American dream like we did. The State Theater's Intermission Social Space, a cool and swanky spot for adults to socialize, listen, and learn. Maybe you've been there already and had a martini. Learning Quest, Karen, I think I saw you on, ensuring adults achieve their literacy dreams. Modesto Gospel Missions Volante Coffee Program, they were a successful graduate of our Profit with a Purpose, and they have a social enterprise now, and we're super excited about that. And then later this year, we're hoping to break ground on a really exciting project. The Porges family donated the land behind the car wash on South McHenry, and partnering with the Stanislaus Equity Partners, we're going to build 42 workforce housing condo units there. So a nice infill project for close to downtown Modesto. So we've been busy. We've been doing all kinds of stuff. And now it's time for, I'll say, the Foundation 2.0. And so when Marianne and her staff, we were sitting down and talking about what do we want to do for this year and coming years. Marianne was very aware that coming out of COVID, as she said to you earlier, that some of you nonprofits are beat up, hurting, and have some needs. And so although some of you have expressed some concern that some of our funding may not be direct on the front end, we really view this opportunity to help bolster and build your back end as an investment for the future, for investment for success beyond, all of us. Here we are today to make sure that nonprofits in this community are around and strong. They're so necessary and so needed more than ever. And so we are hoping this teach a person to fish versus the give a person to fish concept is going to be very helpful for generations to come. We know there's going to be mistakes along the way, as Marianne mentioned. Maria has put together a wonderful program, and she's going to go over it with you. We will bob and weave and make changes as the program needs, but we really appreciate your patience with us, and we appreciate you going along for the ride with us as we develop this cool initiative. So on behalf of the Porges family, thank you very much for your time and attention and for being a part of this learning experiment with us. Maria, back to you.
Okay, thank you, Evan. All right, so I'm so excited. I get the opportunity to go through what's going to be offered within the Porges Nonprofit Excellence Initiative. And this is just a little sneak peek. You'll have the ability to go into the webpage following this webinar and poke around and learn more about all those offerings yourself. But I'll give you a little bit of an overview of each of what's going to be in there. And it's really exciting. This especially for me, I really love this work. I've worked in the nonprofit sector for over 20 years. So this type of programming and work is really excites me. So I'm really thrilled to walk you through that. So the Porges Nonprofit Excellence Initiative will be housed in the Stanislaus Community Foundation website. It'll have its own page, and within there, you'll be able to dive in a little bit deeper as these offerings become available over the next few years. So really the key to this initiative is really investing in innovative leaders and nonprofits to meet the challenges of our time. So within there, next slide, please. So within there, there's going to be 3 large pillars and offerings that will fit within these pillars. So the first of that is leadership and transition. And so one of those programs one of those programs that will be available is Project Rest. And this will be the first opportunity that will come live in March. But Project Rest stands for Renew, Explore, Self-Discover, and Transform. It's a nonprofit sabbatical program, so a 2-month sabbatical program to support nonprofit leaders in their leadership journey. It'll serve as an opportunity really to refresh, re-energize leaders to better engage within their own organizations and the communities that they serve. So those awardees will participate in an orientation where we'll provide some guidance, some resources. So if they don't feel that they have to figure this out on their own. So we'll do an orientation with some guidance to help them explore what the sabbatical season will look like and this opportunity will look like for themselves and their organization. There will also be an opportunity for one-on-one organizational coaching to navigate the nonprofit sabbatical leave. And again, we don't want you to figure it out on your own. We're there to support you, to provide the tools, the resources you need to embark in this opportunity for those organizations. We'll do some pre and post assessment to see what you've learned, how we can expand this program, how we can learn from this program, how we can adapt it if we do need to adapt it in the coming years. The maximum award for Project Rest will be $25,000 award for organizations to participate and take a sabbatical leave for the nonprofit leaders. So again, when is it? This will be coming in March of 2024. Who is it for? It's really for nonprofit executive directors or CEOs who've been in their role for 5 or more consecutive years as a full-time staff person. And it will be for organizations that are are in Stanislaus County specifically. But again, this is an exciting opportunity. I think we've been hearing from different nonprofit organizations and leaders just around, the issues that we're facing, they're real. A lot of nonprofit leaders sometimes don't have the designated time or space to take a leave like this, to reflect, to innovate. And at the end of the day, really just to rest and to re-energize themselves and some of the ideas they may have for their organization or for their leadership. And so we are really excited to, this will be the first opportunity that will launch under the Porges Nonprofit Excellence Initiative. Will be coming in March. So when you go into the webpage later today, you can check it out. There's more information in there. The application will become live in March. So really excited about that opportunity. The other offering within really the leadership and transition focus or bucket is project succession. And so project succession really is a succession planning program for nonprofit organizations, their executive director, their board to participate. And within that, there will be specialized training sessions, one-on-one executive coaching to learn about the elements of succession planning. Organizations and leaders will have the opportunity to develop an actual emergency or departure defined succession plan. And so we want to make sure that the organizations feel supported in that process by providing not only the training, but some one-on-one support to walk with each organization individually to create those plans and really plan for the future. And so making sure that organizations are really sustainable. Up to 3 organizations will be awarded a year to participate in this program. And again, we'll do some pre and post assessing just as we continue to learn. And so I think one thing you've heard from Marianne and from Evan is that this is iterative. And so we are looking at, it may look a little different next year. And so this is what we've been hearing. And this is where we felt that there could be some significant impact. And so we will look at making any adaptations that we need in the next couple of years. So we're excited. Again, these opportunities, again, are just resonate with what we've heard in the nonprofit survey, what we've heard from some other organizations and leaders in the community. So we hope it'll be an incredible opportunity for our nonprofit sector and our leadership. Next slide, please. The other big kind of area or that's we're going to focus on is what we're calling next level leaders. And so really what this is, next level leaders, is specific to mid-level management. And so the way we're defining that is that it's for managers and emerging leaders with 10 or less years of experience in that managerial role. Those who are not yet in those executive leadership roles or have not been able to who've not made that move into that next level of their leadership. And so, but maybe are looking to move into those spaces in the next 2 to 3 years or so. So next level leaders will be focused for coaching, training, and support and resources for mid-level managers in our community. And so the offerings within that will be coaching and mentoring. So there will be a coaching opportunity where those leaders who apply will go through a coach matching assessment, and they will receive one-on-one professional coaching sessions with their designated coach. So that is going to be an opportunity that's going to be available as of April. So leaders can apply to participate in that coaching and mentoring program specifically. Others may decide that they want more specialized workshops and training. And so we feel it would be so beneficial as these leaders are exploring what does this next season of leadership look like, and how do I get those skills that I need to be ready for those opportunities. So we'll be creating some workshops and training opportunities for these mid-level managers that will include topics like program and project management, fundraising, budgeting, human resources, strategic planning, and there may be more conversations or topics that we want to include within that. And so that is an evolving program. So that will be coming next year in 2025. Another offering for our next level leaders is going to be an annual level up retreat. So really designed to inspire, challenge, and to help leaders unlock their greatest leadership potential, and providing some tools and resources to help expand their network. And so we are, again, evolving that, building that out, and that'll be coming fall of this year. So there's going to be a lot of different opportunities for our mid-level leaders to support them, to help them with the skills that they may need or support they may need to take their leadership to the next level. Thank you. And then the other opportunity that's going to be available within the Porges Nonprofit Excellence Initiative is technical support. And so while training and coaching and all of the other opportunities for our leaders and organizations is important, we also understand that sometimes there is a different level of support that organizations need. And so one of the programs within that is going to be Progress with Purpose. And it's an 8-week program for nonprofit organizations. It's in partnership with Mission Edge. And so we did partner with Mission Edge in the past with the program Progress with Purpose. So this program is going to look a little bit different. And so this is really working individually and in a team environment. And so organizations will be able to apply to this program, and it's really looking under the hood. What's the level of support and technical support that you need to make sure your organization is successful? And so things like, is it HR related? Is it more organizational development? And so really it's designed to teach nonprofits how to build their organizational capacity and create sustainable impact. And so that opportunity will be coming in August of 2024. And then lastly, we've heard this often as we've been out in the community, or again, through the nonprofit survey, is grant writing and technical assistance support. So proactive writing, research, submission, support for nonprofits seeking public and private grants. And so we understand, there's sometimes we don't even know where to start. I think some of the data earlier highlighted, we don't have a grant writer on staff, or we don't even know where to begin. And so being able to offer the opportunity where we can intentionally do some proactive research and bring down opportunities that make it a little more tangible for our nonprofit sector. And so that opportunity will be coming again in later in 2025. So there's a lot within there, but we are so excited to be developing all of these programs under the initiative. You'll have the opportunity to view more in the website, and welcome any questions at the end that you may have. If you can save the questions for the end, and then again, we will be available for any follow-up questions as they become available. So really, really exciting things. We look forward to connecting with all you nonprofit leaders and exploring these opportunities in the coming weeks. So with that, I am going to transition into the next section of our webinar, and I'm going to introduce Christopher Siriani with United Way. Christopher is the CEO of United Way of Stanislaus County, and he's been an incredible thought partner as we've been embarking in this Stanislaus Story Project journey. And so I'm going to pass it to him, and he's going to introduce this next section.
Thank you, Maria. First off, I just want to thank the Community Foundation for being amazing partners. We've really enjoyed working with them and look forward to collaborating more into the future and supporting our nonprofit sector. I'd also like to thank the Porges Family Foundation for your continued commitment to our sector. At the United Way, our aim is to cultivate a thriving, vibrant, and sustainable nonprofit sector. Through the conversations I've had with many of you over the last year, we identified a common challenge, that there's numerous nonprofits are lacking a dedicated resource development staff and expertise in grant writing. So recognizing that there is a finite pool available in Stanislaus County, we realized that we needed to find opportunities for many of you to bring money from outside the county in Stanislaus. So we're dedicated to thinking bigger, bolder, and fostering increased collaboration to attract external funds to our community. This is how the inception of Stanislaus Story Toolkit Project was formed, and this addresses this need directly. We're excited to share that we have more initiatives planned for the coming year to further strengthen the resource development talent in our community. We are currently going through a process at United Way where we're finding more opportunities for capacity building to our nonprofit sector, and also through our Build United capacity building initiative, providing more opportunities for different clusters to be formed so we can directly support you in achieving your missions. The Porges Family Foundation, Stanislaus Community Foundation, and us joined forces summer of last year to collaborate on the Stanislaus Story Project toolkit. Together, we enlisted the expertise of Karen Service, renowned as a guru of grant writers, to develop a toolkit tailored specifically for Stanislaus County. An advisory team was assembled to guide Karen and provide invaluable feedback throughout the toolkit development. I want to thank the members of the advisory team who dedicated numerous hours in Zoom meetings and reviewing the toolkit drafts. John Aguirre, Erica Ayala, Christina Guzman-Myers, Alfredo Guerra, Christian Kirby, Dr. Joshua Palmer, Karen Rinstierna, Steve Ashman, and Maria Cortez for being our wonderful project manager throughout this journey. We hope that you will make use of this. This toolkit is meant to serve as a starting point, and it's meant to remain evergreen. So we hope to update it on an annual or semi-annual basis, and that we hope to support you as you identify projects and grant opportunities that we can either serve as an umbrella organization or to bring multiple organizations together to collaborate on a larger grant. Because the intent is that not only do we look at grants specific to one organization, but we look at overarching grants that can support, have multiple organizations come together to collaborate to achieve the bigger picture. It is with great pleasure that I introduce you a true asset to our community, Karen Service, who many of you know, who has not only successfully penned numerous grants for our region, but also graciously agreed to develop this toolkit.
Thank you so much, Christopher. And I looked through the chat and the list, and yeah, there are quite a few people that I know that are on the call. So I'll just give a brief overview of myself. For those of you who don't know me, my name's Karen Service, and I'm a grant writer and grant manager. And I work primarily with nonprofits and government agencies, so like behavioral health, child welfare, area agency on aging, and others. My history all the way back is that I have been in the nonprofit world since 1985, when I turned 5 years old. I honestly no. But I've been involved either as leading nonprofits or working side by side with nonprofit leaders for quite a few years. So the Stanislaus Story Project, what we did was we created a nonprofit toolkit that kind of serves two purposes, or actually 2 to 3 purposes. One is it creates a larger countywide narrative about our community, its strengths and aspirations. It supports you, nonprofit leaders, in your ability to secure additional funding for your programs and services. So it will help you as you develop your grant applications and as you communicate with funders and foundations. It also has different sections in it that support your access to data and metrics about the issues that you're seeking to address. And then it also promotes the larger nonprofit story as an integral part of the Stanislaus story. So the toolkit itself is about 74 pages long. It starts out with an executive summary that is written by Mary Ann that just kind of goes over exactly what the toolkit is and what it isn't. And then there are several sections that will really help you as you develop your grant application. What we did was we included a general overview of the region that kind of gives an idea of what a good narrative may look like in an application. And so it just gives you a really small snapshot and things that you may be able to pull out for your narrative. So like if there's a needs assessment, a lot of applications will ask you for, give us an overview of your region, either Modesto, Stanislaus County, whatever your service area is. And so it will give you some tools that will enable you to do that. I also included a whole section on Stanislaus County demographics, and there are links throughout the entire toolkit. So when you go to the demographic section, there's going to be a link for the Stanislaus County Geographic Information System Hub, for the U.S. Census Bureau, for the Biennial Census, the American Community Survey. It'll also include links for quick facts, which I found is probably the one that I use the most, where you can just get quick demographic snapshots, and you can include that in a narrative. I also included the Employment Development Department, so you can look up unemployment rates, and you can get the most recent unemployment rate and labor force information. We also included the open data portal from the state of California, which taps into all different state agencies' data. So you can actually go into that and lift that data if you need it for your application. And then the real cost measure for California and the dashboard, which we found to be very, very helpful. And then we also included ways to integrate data into narrative statements, because it's really great to be able to put the numbers in, but you need to put them into your application in a readable format that can help someone who is a reader understand Stanislaus County. And what we find, especially when you write federal grants, is that nobody that's reading your grant in Washington, D.C. knows anything about Stanislaus County, California. They think California is beaches. They know nothing about the Valley. They know nothing about our demographics, our needs, our strengths, and our weaknesses and our gaps. So we've given you some statements that you can use to really paint a picture of what your service area. We also included a section on regional challenges. So, you know, as we strengthen our community, we also have challenges, and a lot of those challenges are challenges that your agency is set up to meet and to address. So there's several different links and information in here for you on that. We also included sector-specific data points, so data points for child welfare and children and youth, housing, education, public safety, healthcare, homelessness, mental health and substance use disorder, economic indicators, and also information on sexual orientation and gender identity information from the federal government, their executive order from June of 2022. And then we go into how to actually identify gaps in service delivery. So we've included steps for you to utilize that with your agency. Also, how to build diversity, equity, and inclusion framework into your program design. So we included that. And then we include, there's a lot in here about developing goals and measurable objectives, because that is the message we got back from agencies, is that when they write their grants, they're not being specific enough about exactly what they're doing with the funds and how it's going to actually link to outcomes and positive outcomes in the community. So we included goals and objectives, unclear and examples of unclear goals, the feedback, and then improved goals. So you can kind of, you know, go through that, and how to write SMART objectives, which are specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-bound. So we included that. We also included information on developing logic models, and also what are called theories of change. That sometimes seems to trip people up. So we included information and guidance for that as well. And a sample logic model, which is good. Then we also talked about data collection and performance measurement. So how to collect internal data and how to actually translate that into evaluating how you're doing with your program. So included a lot of things about the difference between a duplicated client and an unduplicated client, how to set up your outcome measurement framework, how to do outcomes and indicators for your various programs. We have samples in there. And then how to create a grant budget and what are allowable and unallowable costs. We also included how to calculate matching funds, because that was a lot of feedback we got back, was how do I calculate match and what does match actually mean in a budget? So we included that. Also, how to calculate indirect costs and how to also put together a cost allocation plan, and then just some generic grant budget guidance. One thing that Christopher stated, which I believe is really, really important, and what we find as we're writing grants and applying for funding, is a majority of funders require collaborative partners, either through a memorandum of understanding or a letter of commitment. And so We included steps on how to engage collaborative partners and what collaboration really means. So there's a lot of information in here on the steps that you can take to build strong collaborative partners. And the suggestion is always to have those collaborative partners built prior to applying for funds, or prior to even knowing a grant opportunity is there, because you're going to have a pretty short window once a grant RFA is released in order to apply for those funds, and those partnerships should already be there. Like, you should already have an agreement and a memorandum of understanding or some sort of collaborative partnership with an allied agency. We also included a section on how to write a letter of support or a letter of commitment, and there is a difference between the two. A letter of support is just kind of like, yay, we love what you're doing, it's so wonderful, good luck, and we support this project. And a letter of commitment is something that is substantial. It is like, we are committing. It's a little bit more formal, a little more binding, and we're committing something tangible to this project, whether it's staffing, facility, collaborative programming. Good collaboration, is like, if you look at the Family Justice Center, they have multiple partners within one agency and all under one roof. And so that's, and there are agreements in place for those. The last couple of sections just have some grant search tools that I think will be really helpful. One thing is, I give you the step-by-step process for requesting grant applications through the Freedom of Information Act. That is a federal act where you can actually request some of the top grant applications from the previous year, so you can view like what a funded application looks like. A lot of agencies are actually providing that on their websites anyway, but some don't. And so this will give you the process that you have to go through to actually request those. And then the last section is just a glossary of grant terms, whether it's competitive procurement, code of federal regulations, just things that you will find, especially in state and federal grants, that you may not know, or you may need some clarification on. And so that's included as well. Now, when you receive the link for the toolkit, if you run across any links in the document that aren't working, or direct you to some weird website that it's not what is described, please let us know. If you have other resources, because we only put in the resources we knew. So if you know of other resources, like for data that is vetted, data for specific topics or programs, let us know. We can include that in the next revision and iteration. And this is meant to be kind of a living document. And but I have to tell you, it's a lot of information, but you got to write the grant. So you're going to need to, utilize this as a toolkit, but remember, just start early and get together with your partners and get yourself a timeline, and just do it. So anyway, I am going to kick it back to, I think, Christopher or Maria. But if you have any questions, please make sure you put them in the chat, and we'll answer them at the end of the webinar. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Karen. There's so much in there, to Karen's point, but please definitely use it. It's an incredible resource. It's an incredible tool. And I look forward to hearing what you guys think and how you're using it. But with that, we are going to transition over to a time for questions and answers. So feel free to drop them in the chat. I am going to ask for all of our presenters to come back. So if there's any questions that you have related to the Porges Nonprofit Excellence Initiative, the Stanislaus Story Toolkit, any specific questions for any of us on anything that we covered today, please drop it in the chat, and we're going to facilitate a few minutes of questions and answers.
While we're waiting for those questions, just to reiterate my gratitude for Evan, for the partnership with United Way, for Karen, and all that, support and technical expertise. And Maria Cortez has done a phenomenal job putting all of this together. And she said it at the beginning, but you may not have noticed it. this is not just the direct observations of Stanislaus Community Foundation, not just based on Evan's evolving philosophy and wanting to support you in new ways. It's also based on Maria's 20+ years working in the nonprofit sector, being on the other end of sort of, philanthropy and funding, and recognizing it takes a lot more than just grants. And they help, and we're still committed to that as a community foundation, but this is really about supporting all of you in new ways. So Maria, thank you, because she has been just brilliant in putting all of this together. So I just wanted to pay kudos where kudos is due.
Thank you, Marianne.
Absolutely.
All right, any other questions? Please drop them in the chat. We'd be happy to take a few minutes to answer any questions you have.
I see a question, Maria. How long is the sabbatical?
Yes, good question. It's a 2-month sabbatical program. So over 2 months. And then I do see another question that was asked in the beginning. The slides will be shared along with the presentation. So just know that you'll have that with the presentation as well. All right, how will the selection process be handled for the various workshops and trainings? Good question. So we will have some defined criteria that's going to be in the grant or the opportunity guidelines for each of these areas. Selection will look a little bit different for each. And again, some opportunities may be open for 3 organizations in year 1. Next level leaders will be able to serve maybe more leaders in that program. So it is going to look a little bit different for each. Selection will happen internally. There will be some scoring rubrics and things along those lines, and some advisory committee members that we may bring in to help us with scoring and to make the decision making of that. But it will look a little different for each. What is the amount for succession planning? So succession planning it isn't going to be a award specifically. It's going to be participate. The award will be to participate in the program, and so it'll include the training opportunity and the coaching and individualized support with each organization. It's going to be both group and peer-to-peer learning and individual learning as well. United Way will also offer training and workshops. Yes, thank you for adding in that shop. So yes, so United Way will also be offering some training and workshops on various topics for nonprofits to add to all of these opportunities. Let me make sure I'm not missing any other questions. All right, any other questions that we can answer, whether it's for the Stanislaus Story Toolkit, Porges Nonprofit Excellence Initiative, maybe something you saw from the data we shared on the nonprofit survey, or anything else, feel free to drop it in the chat. Thank you, Natalie.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, well, if no other questions, feel free to reach out to us after this. If you want to reach out directly, happy to talk more about any of these opportunities that are going to be in the Porges Nonprofit Excellence Initiative webpage. It's going to live within the Stanislaus Community Foundation website. We are also very excited, Jeff. Thanks for being on the webinar with us. So for next steps, there is a survey link on the screen, but it'll also be sent to you after this webinar. For more information on any of this, you can visit our website. The toolkit will be in there. You can learn more about the Porges Nonprofit Excellence Initiative. So it'll all live in there. And then, of course, you can reach out to us if you want to dialogue some more. If you have some additional questions, you can reach out to us directly. So I want to thank everyone for being a part of the webinar today, spending a part of your afternoon with us. I know that we covered a lot, so we will be sending out the recording and we will be sending out the slides. Check out the website. Please complete the survey. It helps us get better. And we look forward to connecting with you and engaging with you through these opportunities and beyond. And so thanks again for joining us, and we'll see you again soon.
Bye.